Tonight's episode of Watson felt like one of the most emotional and personal ones of the entire season because it was not just about solving a medical mystery or saving a patient. It was also a deep dive into Watson's childhood, his complicated bond with his father, and the pain he still carries after years of silence and misunderstanding. The episode began with a very unexpected moment as Watson's father, Hamish, walked into hope. For viewers, this instantly signaled trouble because whenever a parent walks into a workplace, in TV dramas, something big is about to happen. Hamish arrived with a purpose. He wasn't just there to catch up with his son. He came with his young protege, Annabelle Lee, who he believed was the next major sensation in the jazz world. She's a saxophone prodigy, talented beyond her age, and clearly someone Hamish is deeply invested in. But things took a quick turn the moment she stepped on stage, stumbled during their performance, and collapsed afterward. Most parents would panic, but Hamish brushed it off as dehydration. He assumed Annabelle was fine and just needed some rest and fluids. But Watson, who has seen hundreds of medical conditions and is trained to notice the smallest things, knew immediately that something more serious was happening. He spotted the signs of numbness, weakness, and progressive decline. And the more he observed, the more he realized the problem was deep and dangerous. Annabelle was getting sicker by the hour, and if they didn't find the cause soon, she wasn't just going to miss her record deal edition. She could be in real danger. This situation forced Watson and his father to spend time together, and that alone caused tension to bubble up from the start. Even though both men believed their relationship was fine, it was clear from the first scene that they hadn't talked openly in years. Watson's mother used to act as the bridge between them, passing messages, smoothing over conflicts, and translating feelings. Neither father nor Sonui, Watson's ex-wife, even stepped into that old role again during this episode, but now she refused to take sides. She joked that she was Switzerland, and it was both funny and sad because it highlighted how emotionally distant Watson and Hamish had become. As Annabelle's condition worsened, the medical team rushed to run tests. A CT scan was done, then an MRI, then more neurological checks. But despite all the imaging and technology, nothing obvious showed up that left everyone frustrated. Without clear results, there is no treatment plan. And with Annabelle's symptoms accelerating, time was running out. Adam and Sasha decided to search Annabelle's apartment for clues. Their visit revealed a lot about her life. Her place was filled with musical instruments, sheet music, and a practice diary that showed she pushed herself for hours every single day, sometimes 8 hours straight. It explained her dedication, but also hinted at the amount of pressure she carried. Then they found something that changed everything: a small bag of cocaine hidden inside an electrical outlet. The discovery shook the entire team. For Adam, who is a recovering addict, it was especially triggering. He couldn't even touch the evidence because he didn't want to risk a relapse. He has worked so hard to rebuild his life, especially now that he's getting ready for marriage and fatherhood. The possibility that Annabelle's symptoms were drug-induced felt both hopeful and heartbreaking. Hopeful because drugs would explain the symptoms. Heartbreaking because she might be destroying her own chance at success. When Watson confronted Hamish about the drugs, things exploded. Hamish immediately denied that Annabelle could have done anything wrong. He has been her mentor for years and believes she listens to him more than anyone else. Tension rose quickly, and Mary had to step in before father and son said something they couldn't take back. She reminded Watson that the conversation needed to happen with Annabelle, not her mentor. But before Watson could even begin, Hamish found out about the drugs. Instead of yelling or scolding, he simply told her to stop. And surprisingly, she obeyed instantly. That moment said a lot about their relationship. She didn't just admire Hamish, she practically worshipped him. He wasn't just a mentor. He was the man who helped her escape poverty, find a purpose, and build a future. After all, Annabelle had grown up poor, often accompanying her mother, who worked as a cleaner in the music school. Hamish noticed this little girl who stood in the corner trying to mimic jazz notes. He saw something special in her long before anyone else. He taught her for free, fought for her scholarships, and opened doors she never walked through, so Annabelle would never betray him. And when the talk screen came back clean, everyone realized she wasn't lying. She hadn't touched drugs in at least 5 days. That meant the cocaine wasn't the cause of her symptoms. They were back to square one. At this point, Watson decided to review the recording of her last performance. His sharp medical instincts kicked in. Something about the way she played her saxophone made him pause and rewind the video multiple times. Then everything clicked. Annabelle was experiencing mini-strokes triggered by the way she played, specifically the breath pressure and the physical strain involved in her technique. He rushed to his father to discuss it, and together they realized the heartbreaking truth: she needed brain surgery. And not just any surgery, one on the left side of her brain, dangerously close to the part that controlled her musical talent. For a prodigy like Annabelle, this was devastating news. The moment she heard brain surgery, she panicked. But when she heard right side of the brain is where musicality mostly comes from, she clung desperately to the word mostly. She didn't want to lose even a fraction of her gift. She refused surgery outright, choosing instead to risk another stroke. For someone so young, so talented, and so close to her dream, the fear of losing her music was greater than the fear of losing her life. Unfortunately, the risk caught up with her. While preparing for her big audition for the Talent Scout, she collapsed again, this time in the middle of practice. She was having a Watson rushed in, treated her immediately, and stabilized her, but he knew this would happen again unless she agreed to the surgery. At this point, she wasn't listening to any doctor, but Watson knew she would listen to one person, Hamish. Meanwhile, there was a small but meaningful side story happening with Sasha. She discovered that the man who claimed to be her new uncle was actually lying about everything. He wasn't related to her at all. He was just a lonely older man who wanted to feel like he belonged somewhere. Strangely enough, his lie ended up helping her. Before he disappeared from her life, he gave her a photo of her as a baby with her mom. It was a beautifully emotional moment in the middle of all the chaos. Back with Hamish, the moment he stepped into Annabelle's hospital room, everything changed. He didn't guilt her. He didn't force her. He simply spoke from the heart. He told her that she mattered more than music, that her life was more important than any performance, and that she could still be great even if she played differently after surgery. His love and belief broke through her fear. She finally agreed to the operation. The surgery was a success. Annabelle recovered well and even began playing music again just weeks later. Her brilliance returned, maybe a little changed, but still powerful. And with her healing came a surprising healing between Watson and Hamish as well. The emotional wall they had built over decades finally cracked. They didn't magically fix everything, but they took a real step toward understanding each other. For the first time in a long time, Watson saw his father as someone who was proud of him, not disappointed or distant. The episode wrapped on a warm and slightly humorous note. Watson's friends updated Hamish's Wikipedia page to include the line that he was the father of world-renowned geneticist John Watson. It was a small gesture, but it symbolized a huge emotional shift. Watson realized that he didn't need to compete with his father or earn his approval anymore. They were two different people with different talents. Hamish had always loved him, just not in the ways Watson expected. And now, after years of silence, both of them were finally ready to take giant steps toward a better relationship.